Hello everyone, thank you so much for clicking on today's video and welcome to my channel. Today's story is definitely a mess. OP and his brother received some inheritance from his grandmother a while ago, and now OP's brother is essentially trying to scam him out of his shares. It's crazy and the level of entitlement here is really astounding. Also, the incredibly poor choices that OP's brother makes is insane. I do hope that you enjoyed the story. If you do, please leave a thumbs up. And before I go, I just wanted to take a second and thank all of my subscribers. Thank you so much, guys. You guys are amazing. For those of you that don't know, I have a personal goal of reaching 1,000 subscribers. So if you do like my content and would like to support me, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit the subscribe button. Anyways, thank you so much for your time and on to the story. Grandmother gave my brother and me an equal share portfolio each when we were kids. Brother sold his when they were worth a car. I left mine in and now they're a substantial amount. My brother and his girlfriend want my half now. When my brother was 16 and I was 4, my grandmother set aside a share portfolio for us. As soon as we were old enough, it was transferred into our accounts, and it was only 4 years later that my brother dipped heavily into his and bought a new Honda. I knew about mine for much longer than he did before it became mine, and watched it grow since I understood what it was. By the time I was given full control, it was already worth a ridiculous amount because a big portion of it was invested in Apple, and I'm torn on using the funds locked up as they are, because Dad drilled it into me to leave it to grow until I'm 40-something. I don't talk much with my brother. He's done some stupid things to the family over the years, and I didn't really grow up with him, so all I usually hear about his life comes through Dad. His new girlfriend works in law though, and I've received a formal letter from them both that the investment my grandmother made were designed to be for the both of us to use, not just for me alone. And his was only around 15,000. The number is right, but mine was only worth that at the time that he spent it too. They want half of the value of mine now, and his girlfriend has informed me that if I don't give them access, then the legal fees and fine would eat up my half and I'd be left with nothing. The dividends alone support a huge part of my life, and they've saved me a few times. If half of that disappeared, it would set me back years. I know that it sounds selfish, but I'm really used to having the extra income back me up when I've wanted to move. I've lived in 4 states by my own choice, and I want to move and take in more before I settle down, if I ever do. How likely is it that they'll win and leave me with nothing? As far as I know, there was no paperwork or will, just my grandmother's word. She set up my brother's accounts when he turned 19, but she gave them to Dad at the same time as my brother got his, and Dad transferred the whole lot to me 6 years ago. For my share, I have all the logins, the trading accounts, and the bank accounts are in my name. And the shares are solely in my name too. Should I find my own lawyer, and if I need one, what kind do I need? I have an accountant I've used for years, but this doesn't seem like an accountant problem, but a law one. One Redditor said, "Okay, I'm a California lawyer, and here's my take on it solely from your facts. 1. Grandmother set up a trust, with your dad as the trustee. 2. Your father as a trustee distributes the title to both of you when you each reach a certain age. The trust and purpose of the trust your grandmother set up is now dissolved. 3. Once you each receive control or the title of your money, the trust was gone, and the purpose of which grandmother set it up, that is, so my grandsons would have a portfolio they each could use as their own once they reached a certain age, is complete. 4. Whatever each of you did was each your responsibility. If he had taken the money out and won the lottery, he wouldn't have raced over and given you half the proceeds, right? Lastly, you have a statute of limitations defense. If you're both in your mid-20s or older, I assume you're both in your 30s, your brother likely missed any chance to sue you for damages. Really, lastly, I'm not even sure what he can sue you for. There's no longer a trust. Sleep well. He cannot take your share. They're bluffing. I work in probate, and what they're trying to do is scare you into settling, even though you don't owe him a penny. P.S. Great job keeping the portfolio. I wish I had your father's wisdom when I was a teenager. Another editor said, I think the older brother and his meddling girlfriend will find it impossible to get any decent lawyers to take the case on a contingency fee basis. That means they would have to pay tens of thousands out of pocket in attorney fees to pursue this, money which they probably don't have. I do believe that they're bluffing and their case has no merit. There's a reason the letter didn't come from an actual lawyer. It came from a girlfriend who quote-unquote works in law. By the way, who authored or signed the letter? You might be able to make a very plausible complaint to the State Bar of California that the girlfriend is practicing law without a license if she is involved in this. And though she may not be prosecuted for that crime, it would definitely F up her chances to pass the quote-unquote character and fitness requirements to be admitted to the bar down the road if she ever does want to become a lawyer. Another Redditor replied to that, the firm might also be interested to hear that the girlfriend is using their name to send baseless legal threats as well. Another editor replied to that, this is such a very important point. I knew stupid lawyers who pulled that stuff. They use their firm's letterhead for their own personal agenda. So when you do write back with the assistance of an attorney, make sure that you address it to not just the girlfriend but also CC copies to the managing partners. Good chances are that her behind will get fired if she has zero authority to pull this stuff. To which another editor replied, also make sure you include copies of the original letter so that she can't play dumb when confronted. And then that Redditor replied, yes, solid advice. And whatever you do, no matter what threats you get OP, give them no information. No matter what they may threaten, you'll tell them nothing of your assets, your intentions, or the last time you took a dump. It's none of their business. If you were my client and did not want to spend $500 on a letter, I'd advise you first to ignore this stuff. And when I say ignore, I mean it. No matter how incensed or enraged you get, you ignore. You give them nothing. No information, no anger, no response. Save everything. Every SMS, every email, every voicemail they may send. This can become evidence. If it comes to a point where you do need a lawyer, I'm sure you'll go in the right direction. I obviously don't know the facts here, but I can quite confidently say that based upon what you did tell me, your brother is not entitled to anything, and his girlfriend is certainly not entitled to anything, and I wouldn't even respond to her. As an attorney, I would have a bit of fun and first ask for proof of representation and her state bar number, but I don't suggest that you head that way on your own. I'm sorry that you have such a greedy little person as your brother. Mostly good news. I worked with my dad and got my own lawyer. I got the timelines of my shares wrong, but it does come out the same. What my brother and I inherited from my grandmother was originally part of my grandfather's portfolio. He was the money-savvy one. My grandmother looked after those after he died, and she personally set up my brother's accounts and gave him control of his parts. She didn't do the same with mine before she died. I thought that she had already set the accounts up for me and given control to Dad before passing. Instead, the shares were in her will, and she left everything she owned to my dad with the instruction that what was $15,000 worth when my brother got his equivalent part would go to me when I was old enough to know how to take care of them. There was no trust. She just trusted my dad. My dad did the right thing and set up accounts for me and gave me control 6 years ago. My dad put some of his own shares into as an extra leg up. Dad admitted to me that he chewed out my brother last year when he came to him asking for money. And Dad had supported him several times over the years and got to the point that he'd had enough. My brother found out that I still had my investments because Dad had used me as an example of how my brother should have been using money. That's how my brother found out I still had shares and they'd grown. According to all that information, my lawyer tells me that I'm in the clear, but it's not going to get to the point of finding that out in court, as my brother's girlfriend was only a legal secretary. I say was because the firm she worked for apologized and informed my lawyer that she was terminated immediately. The letter that I received from them had been edited to put her name in a position higher up than it should have been, and some of the contact information had been changed. A week after she was fired, my brother visited me begging for money. His girlfriend is in serious debt and she took a chance on scamming cash out of me and lost. I felt awful rejecting my brother over and over, and if he hadn't involved his girlfriend needing an amount well into the 5 figures, I might have given him some. The next morning, I found out that all of my tires had been slashed. Screw him. I don't feel bad anymore. The rest of the comments in the previous thread made me realize that I don't know nearly enough about what I'm doing with the shares and dividends and money in general. A lot of the decisions I've made have been with Dad's help, and his advice has paid off well so far, but not because I knew it would, but because I had no idea what I was doing and left it up to him. I've booked in to work with a financial advisor to make the most of what I have. Thanks for all of your comments. So guys, what did you think? Please let me know in the comments down below. I, for one, am dumbfounded by not just OP's brother but also his girlfriend. 1. The amount of financial irresponsibility that the brother shows is insane. Like, I understand that not a lot of people are educated when it comes to finances, but I feel like OP's dad was a good guide, and the fact that the brother didn't listen to his father is insane. And then he goes to the father and begs him for money, and then goes to OP. I just can't with these entitled people. Anyways, onto OP's brother's girlfriend. What on earth was she thinking when she was supposedly impersonating a lawyer, or at the very least misrepresenting her title in the law firm? Like, what? I don't think under any circumstances you should be messing with the law firm. These are people that know how to navigate a legal system, and you're going and trying to impersonate them and potentially blemishing their reputation. Like, there are so many things that can go wrong. I'm surprised that the girlfriend was just fired and not sued by the law firm. Anyways, once again, what did you guys think? Please let me know in the comments down below. I'm really interested in knowing your take. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. If you did like it, I'd really appreciate it if you could give it a thumbs up. And please subscribe if you'd like to hear more stories from Reddit with updates.